Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now I know I have a tendency of releasing the pack reviews as well as the final reviews a little bit too late. I mean, literally while I'm recording this, I think there's like, what, 12 hours left into the final? Look, I can explain. I was busy. I wanted to record this yesterday, but I was out all day and I got home at about 11:45 at night and I started doing chores around the house. But my house is really clean now. Okay, I'll show you how cool the floor is. I can literally play on it now.
What's he doing? Huh? What?
Anyway, what we're talking about the pack. So we're going to be talking about the final, and this is about as much of a vanilla final as you can expect. It actually reminds me of the finals of days past, and I think Hutch kind of hears this, considering that we're kind of annoyed that almost every single final has been World Expo this, World Expo that, World Expo everything. So now it's a little bit of a more vague or open final where it just focuses on very, not super restrictive tags. It's just your fuel type, and that's it. I'm really glad that, and I believe that this is correct. I think we are allowed to use duplicates. I don't see a lot of people complaining that we cannot use duplicates. Let me know down in the comments below if we can or cannot. I've already joined the final, but just coincidentally that I don't have any duplicates in my hand anyway. But yeah, that entire fiasco about how Hutch wants, us to apply using, no duplicates in events, that's just bullshit. Honestly, I honestly hope that never ever happens. But anyway, guys, as always, I'm going to be reviewing the pack that you need to open to get this BMW Shining Shadow Edition. And obviously, as always, there are going to be two different tier lists. One is going to be how useful the cars are in a tri-series scenario and how useful they're going to be in a general scenario as well. So go see your doctor. Basically, the cars that are never going to work in a final like this. I mean, the track sets are very pedestrian and they're very, I would say, classic to the Top Drives tri-series meta where, there's always going to be one off-road, mostly everywhere, one track set doesn't have an off-road, and there's always a drag somewhere as well. The vanilla, not the vanilla, but the flagship track set where you can win by many points, and I mean many points. If you have the Regera, you are literally already having 1 foot into the prize car. Anyway, go to the doctor, all your standard tires and some of your all-surface tires and all that kind of stuff, just things that don't really work. The Peugeot SR1 is not supposed to be there. Move it up one. Moving on to unlikely, these are your better all-surface tires that can probably do a little better of a job on those off-road track sets. Your better standard tires, which you could substitute if you don't have an all-surface tire, and last but not least, some of the weaker performing performance tire cars. Moving on to In With a Chance. These are cars where they might be able to bring you some value. In this are your best all-surface tires, your best standard tires, your best performance tire, well, not your best performance tire, but your best like four-wheel drive performance tire cars, examples being like the Chevrolet Murray, for example, or the BMW i8, or among the best. But anyway, your best possible prize, your best four-wheel drive performance tire car does belong in possible prize car winning. That's the BMW i8. Now, it really pisses me off that the Roadster and the regular i8 are both the same RQ, but one is just so much better than the other. It literally is just night and day, literally just like their difference in their colors from blue to bronze. The blue i8 is just so much better. But in possible prize car winning are some of the better legendaries, some of the better four-wheel drive performance tire cars, well, the best, and your best rear-wheel drive performance tire cars, etc. The Infinity Emerge, and then obviously the prize car winning the top 5, in my personal opinion, if you cannot run any duplicates, would be the Koenigsegg Regera on the drag, the Mitsubishi Outlander on the off-road, the Peugeot EX1 on your super twisty stuff. So we're talking about like the slalom and the car park, and then your Peugeot Onyx and your Rimac Concept 1. You can kind of put them in on all the other hybrid track sets like Ocean Parking Lot, etc. So that's basically the best possible hand in my opinion. I don't have a very good chance at winning this car, I believe. I don't have anything in prize car winning. I mean, I do have the Outlander, but it's not even max. It's just there. And I might honestly fuse it away. I just don't think it's worth it to upgrade this. And also, I don't think the prize car is worth it as well to put in any investment at all. And honestly, even if I had to max out the Outlander, there's not much of a chance that I'll actually win it anyway. Because as long as I go up against someone against a Regera in the drag and I don't have a car that can, punch up to the Regera's weight, there really isn't much of a chance. It's funny, I think that one of the closest cars that can punch up to the Regera's rate would be the Peugeot Onyx, and then maybe after that the CX-75s, but they don't even get that close. The Regera is just that strong. Oh, obviously the Rimac as well, which are all in your prize car winning categories. I have a lot of cars in possible prize car winning. I have the Emerge, I have the CX-75, I have the Power Box, I have the Taycan, but at the end of I don't have the NSX, but at the end of the day, man, you got, this is like a must or bust kind of tri-series. Like, you need the Regera. I genuinely think you need the Regera. If you're going up against a Regera in a drag, you don't have a Regera or anything close to it, etc. Like, you don't have an Onyx or a Rimac, you are going to be in trouble. You are going to lose a lot of points. But anyway, guys, that's my personal evaluation of how useful the cars are in a tri-series scenario. Now we're going to move on to a general standpoint. So before we get into a general standpoint, I want to give you guys some, top drives records times, just to give you a nice little inclination of how useful these cars are going to be and how I'm going to be judging them very soon. So you're going to start with all the standard tire stuff. There's a lot of standard tire cars that you go for, so I'm going to go with the ultra rares. We're going to start with the rear wheel drive / front wheel drive ones. So starting with the BMW 330, so that's your benchmark. The VIP, well, as you can see, the BMW is actually better everywhere. 4.885 compared to 4.683. Handling is key. The Mercedes C-Class comes next, and as you can see, the BMW is still in the lead. The next one is the BMW i4, being your next best performer across every single track set. Bringing in the BMW 530e, which doesn't win anything. Honestly, this car, no idea why it's 62. Well, top speed probably. But then again, that means nothing. Only being the best in the mountain hairpin. Then we have the Infiniti Q70, which doesn't beat anything as well, and is also more expensive to use by 1 RQ compared to the BMW 530. And then we end up with the BMW 330e Touring, which again doesn't win anything. So your best performer is the BMW i4. Now, moving on to the four-wheel drive standard tire cars, we have the DS Wild Rubis being your benchmark, doesn't win much. With the DS7, which is better than the DS Wild Rubis. Then you have the Mercury Meta 1, and as you can see, this is where four-wheel drive becomes so useful, because against the 62, the 55 is still better on many track sets because of that four-wheel drive drivetrain. And last but not least, with the Mazda CX-90 being the best car across the board. The 530e only having mountain hairpin, and the i4 still relatively respectable, coming up against four-wheel drive cars, being your best option for the hairpin road, the fast circuit, and Monaco hairpin, and the Canyon Tour. Now, moving on to the next comparison. Over here, we have a comparison for the all-surface tire cars that you can expect from the pack. So we're going to start off with the ultra rares. We start with the Chrysler Aspen Hybrid as your benchmark, the Land Rover, which is the better car in many places. Then we have the Lincoln Corsair being the next better option. Then we have the Mitsubishi Outlander and the BMW X5, followed by the BMW iX X-Drive and the Mini Countryman. Over here, I would say it's pretty freaking balanced. This is the gradient that you kind of want to see when you go up in RQ. So I think all of those cars are relatively correctly rated in terms of just all surface tire cars. Then we move on to epics, and we begin with the F-150 Lightning, and that is really good on the Rallycross small, medium, as well as the Monaco hairpin. Moving on with the Volvo XC90. Now this really annoys me because the XC90 is terrible, but it's just not an accurate representation to say that this is the best car for a hairpin and twisty and everything, because its closest competitor is a Monaco 63, which is literally still trading blows with two completely different rarities. One car so much cheaper to upgrade than the other. You would expect the XC90 to be a little bit more dominant, but it really isn't. Moving on is the BMW X5, which again, is better than the XC90. Then you have the Ford Mustang. Now this one is a bit of an interesting one, I think mainly because it's medium ground clearance, and yeah, it is just the best one here. The BMW iX has nothing against the Ford Mustang, along with the Volvo XC60 or even the BMW iX, for crying out loud, which is RQ78. The iX is basically your better version of the Ford F-150 Lightning, being the best in all the tracks as the F-150 Lightning were great in, like the Rallycross small, medium, and the Monaco hairpin. Obviously, if we were going to put in the drags, not the drive, but drags in the dirt, then you get to see a little bit more value from the BMW. Well, actually, surprisingly enough, because most of them are upgraded drag spec, which makes a lot of sense. It becomes the second best car on the rally cross. Oh wait, no, it doesn't actually. It still remains the best on small, medium, Monaco, so a lot of green to look at. And yeah, best car for the drags. Okay, yeah, pretty fundamental stuff. But anyway, let's get into judging the pack. Okay, so here we are in a general scenario. How good are these cars actually? We're going to start with the BMW 330e. It's a frequent provider. As you can tell from the recent comparison, it hits above its weight. The 330e Touring is a bit of a pernicious ulcer. I mean, honestly speaking, like, you would expect better performance from it from an RQ63. However, it just falls beneath the mark. But it's not as bad as the 530e Saloon, but I'm going to put them both in pernicious ulcer. I mean, the only thing that the 530e Saloon actually has to its name is mountain hairpin. And how often does that actually show up? The BMW i4 eDrive, I'm going to give it daily driver. I don't know if I want to put it in Der Kaiser, because at the end of the day, rear-wheel drive standard is just a terrible niche. But the fact that it is able to compete with the CX-90 on some tracks is very impressive. So I think it's only fair that if I want to put the CX-90 in Der Kaiser, I will also put the iX in Der Kaiser as well. Those that might be subject to change, but for now I don't mind putting them there. The iX xDrive 40 is a frequent provider. It's a decent, like, kind of dragster kind of car. On top of that, the X5, I mean, they're all just kind of meh. I don't think that they're terrible, but I'm not going to be using them very often. The Chrysler Aspen Hybrid, a part of me wants to put in like the club bias and put it in frequent provider, because the reality is, whenever there's Chrysler times 5 in clubs and there's anything off-road, the Aspen Hybrid is the car to use. So I think because of that club bias, I am going to bring it up, because it literally just, because of that club bias, it literally lives up to its name of being a frequent provider whenever it's Chrysler in clubs. Now, moving on to the Citroen DS Wild Rubis, I'll give it pernicious ulcer. Same thing for the Crossback, mainly because although they're not good four-wheel drive center tire cars, when it comes to four-wheel drive center tire ultra rares for the French category, there's not much to work with. So the competition and the bar is just very low in the French sector right now. So I'm gonna give them pernicious ulcer. If they added more French ultra rares with center tires in the future that handle better, then definitely those two cars are going down to hot garbage, because we'll never see them again. The Dodge Circuit EV speaks for itself. It's Der Kaiser. Along with the Power Box, those two are ridiculously strong. The Infiniti Q70 is just a massive disappointment. The Corsair as well is just pernicious ulcer. The Mercedes-Benz C350 is pernicious ulcer. The Mercury Meta 1 is frequent provider. You can't really go wrong with four-wheel drive, center tires, and decent handling. I believe it hits just 80 when you max it out. The Mini Countryman is okay as far as, all-surface tire cars go. I will give it frequent provider. It's one of the better ones. Outlander is going to be in pernicious ulcer. The Nissan VIP is hot garbage. The Rover is going to be pernicious ulcer. Honestly, I think I'm being a bit too nice to the all-surface tire cars. If anything, I should be judging the lowest rated ones at the bottom, and it kind of just goes up to, in terms of usefulness. So I'm gonna bring these down, actually. Yes. Desire is really strong. I'm gonna give it Der Kaiser. The RLX Sport Hybrid, a car that we don't know too much about and we don't really care about too much because of its competition. Not even that four-wheel drive center tire niche, but even just within the eco-friendly niche. The RLX doesn't have a time to shine because it's next to the I-Pace, it's next to the DS Numero 9, and it's also next to the Hyundai Ioniq 6, as well as, not the Mustang Mach-E, but where is it? The other Hyundai. I can't find it right now. Oh yes, the Ioniq 5. So because of that, I think the RLX isn't a bad car, but no one's ever going to max it out because the I-Pace is Der Kaiser, because the Ioniq 6 is Der Kaiser, because the DS Numero 9 is Der Kaiser, because the Ioniq 7 or Ioniq 5 is a daily driver, etc., etc., etc. Is it a bit too nice of me to put the DS Numero 9 Der Kaiser? Perhaps. I mean, at the end of the day, it is third choice behind the I-Pace, behind the Ioniq. It's actually like fifth choice. If you take away the niche, it's behind the CT6, it's behind the Mercedes. it's a tough one because again, that French question, right? Like when it comes to French cars, the bar is always just easier. But you know what? In a general standpoint, it's not that good. I'm gonna bring it down to daily driver. Still a really good rank, just not the best anymore. It used to be Blossom Choice. Audi e-tron's alright. I mean, like again, it's kind of like the RLX where it's not a bad car, but just that there are better options that you'd rather use. The BMWs are next. Again, just okay. The i4 is pretty good. I'm gonna give that daily driver. As far as four-wheel drive performance tire cars go, i8 is also daily driver. The i8 Roadster is a frequent provider. Then we have the iX M60. I'm gonna give that daily driver. A part of me actually wants to put in Der Kaiser. The only issue is that, you know, all surface tires. How often are you actually going to use all surface tires? I guess only in the drags. Only in the drags. Okay, because of that, I'll put it in Der Kaiser. It's because it's still the best. iX X-Drive 50. Again, it's just okay. I'll give it frequent provider. X5, though, I'll give that pernicious ulcer. Like, there isn't much of a niche there. Chevrolet Murray, I'm going to put that in Der Kaiser. Citadel. Oy. Okay, now we're getting to the really bad stuff. Citadel, Metropolis goes in the bottom. CX Experience goes in pernicious. I mean, at this point, they don't even handle well. At least things like, you know, what is it? The BMW and the RLX, they handle a little bit better. But these, they don't, man. I don't want to deal with that. The DS Servolts. Very strange one. It's had like 99 handling for the longest time. That being said, like it's been in the game since about the start. Never used it. Literally never had a chance to use it. Even in that French niche where the competition is so tight and there are not a lot of cars to use. Like the DS Servo was always overlooked upon. I just feel like it's not actually that good. It looks good, but it just ends up being a disappointment. I have no regrets putting it in. Okay, it's a bit too mean. I put it in frequent provider, but the reality is I never feel like I need to use it in anything at all. I mean, it's not like you get DS events often. It's not like you get French events often. And there's always going to be a better option to the DS Servolt, but it isn't bad. But it really, truly, I just don't. I see myself using the BMW i8 a lot more than I use the DS Servolt. I've had the Servolt many times. I've fused it away many times, and I've never found myself in a situation where I really needed it. And the longer that I look at that car, I just think, wow, it kind of looks like a Bugatti. Actually, I'll put it in frequent provider for now. Stats are good, 99 handling when you max it out. But yeah, that's it. Moving on to the Ford F-150 Lightning, I would say frequent provider when you get that drag specs, cheap version of the iX basically. Mustang Mach-E is one of your better all-surface tire cars. I'm gonna put that in daily driver. Emerge is definitely Der Kaiser. And the Maybach, I'll put the Vision 6 in frequent provider, and I'll put the Vision 6 Cabriolet in pernicious ulcer because it's just a worse version of your hard top compatriot. Mazda CX-60, it's okay, handles all right. Then we have the Mitsubishi IMI-EV, which is like your best four-wheel drive performance tire car epic, with low ground clearance. With the Outlander, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm gonna put it in daily driver. Yes, it's better than the Power Box, but the Power Box is like miles easier to upgrade, and it's a lot like the Mitsubishi Outlander is like when you max it out, it's going to be the best of its class. The Power Box, you max it out, it's the best of its class, but Outlander, you max it out, and it isn't the best of its class. There are better four-wheel drives, off-roader cars in the epic range that you could rather use. It's not bad though, definitely daily driver. I'm just kind of trying to give my case for why I'm not putting it in Der Kaiser. Moving on is the Peugeot E Legend. I use this car quite often, and I think it's very versatile. It is like the only versatile French epic. It's four-wheel drive, but it's also medium. Also has a low 0 to 60, so it's a very decent hybrid. Moving on is the Peugeot SR1. I'm gonna put that with the Servolt and frequent provider. Taycan 4S, frequent provider. Taycan 4S Cross Turismo. Yes, it's medium ground clearance, but again, yeah, sure, I'll put daily driver. Taycan GTS and the GTS Sport Turismo. So Sport Turismo is definitely daily driver. Taycan GTS, I'm going to give it like a very low Der Kaiser. It is one of the best Porsche four-wheel drive, so I will put it up there. It will have its day. It's time to shine. Thank you, Siri. I don't even know why it came up. Trezor comes next, frequent provider. Volvo Concept Coupe, frequent provider. Now, as we're doing this, guys, I think it's a good time for me to mention that this is obviously all in my personal opinion. So if you disagree with any of my takes, make make sure to let me know down in the comments below. But as always, I would like you to remember that this is my personal opinion on how I see these things. The Volvos are very just lackluster. I'll put this in hot garbage. You're there. Yeah, they're all just kind of, maybe I'll put them in pernicious. I feel like I don't know, I feel like I'm in a really good mood. Am I being nice? I feel like usually when I make videos like this, I have a lot more cars in hot garbage. It's not even that hot today. The Volvo V60 is a frequent provider. It handles well, medium ground clearance, four-wheel drive. XC60 used to be really good. Got a handling cut, which is very, very detrimental towards the usefulness of that car. XC90 is garbage. BMW 530e X-Drive Touring, four-wheel drive standard once again. And it has an estate niche. I think it will have its day to shine as an estate four-wheel drive. We just haven't seen it yet. Acura DNX. I'm gonna give that. At the time, I wanted to give it, daily driver or Der Kaiser, mainly because of all the niches that it represented, right? It was basically like 2000s, it was four-wheel drive, and it was used in like so many freaking events back in the day. And I kind of just forget that it even exists now. I don't even remember how I even got this car. Like, what pack did I even open? Back in the day of American Frontier and the updates that came before it, I think the DNX was definitely daily driver because it felt like it kind of just like ticked off a lot of boxes in the niches category. But now with more and more updates and everything happening after World Expo, I do believe that the value of the DNX has dropped. It has basically failed the test of time. The BMW 545e X-Drive Saloon is definitely a pernicious. I was like, dude, literally the RQ80 is a better car. Honda NSX is, a little better. I'm gonna give it daily driver. It is one of your best four-wheel drive Japanese cars. I'll give it that. I'll put it in Der Kaiser. Like a very low Der Kaiser. Like I said, I'm in a good mood today, so I'm just ranking these cars maybe a little bit. Like I'm giving them a lot of the benefit of the doubt. Let's go over the rest of the legendaries real quick. Regera is obviously like Blossom Choice. Like that is the car you want. Onyx as well goes up there in my opinion. The Peugeot EX was an interesting one. Rimac goes up all to the top. Taycan as well, all the way to the top. Taycan Turbo S all the way to the top. And then everything else I feel like doesn't deserve it. I don't know, the Peugeot EX1 I think goes in daily driver. Maybe the Veloster, but again, that's only because it's currently serving as a medium ground clearance car. It won't be medium forever. It is very terrible. I'm gonna give it freaking provider. I don't care. It's only there because it's medium. If not, it's actually a very terrible car. I've made an entire rant video about the NETCR. I just forgot. What does it mean? Not something, I can't remember what I gave the acronym for it to be. TX75s are overrated garbage. Honestly, like, they do bring performance, just not performance worthy of their RQ. Seriously, bring them down to 94, 93, and I'll reevaluate how I think about the CX75s, but I just don't think that they are worth the time. The Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Electric is like one of those legendaries you're just like, huh? Still in the game? Like, dude, yeah, nah. The 308, it's okay. I'll give it freaking provider. The Panamera is a pernicious ulcer, and the Panamera Turbo, I'm not going to be swayed about the Panamera Turbo. Okay, maybe a little bit just because it's World Expo Plus. Maybe just a little bit because it's World Expo Plus. And World Expo just gets a lot more time in the limelight. But I know those stats that the Panamera has. When you max it out, it has the same exact stats of the Porsche 959, and we all know how useless the Porsche 959 actually is. The only reason why I think I'm putting it up a couple ranks is because of World Expo and because it's also an estate, I believe. But aside of that, yeah. Nah. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree. Are you going to open the pack or are you not going to open the pack? To be fair, there are a lot of good cars you can get from this pack. But there are also a lot of just kind of meh cars that you wouldn't be interested about. So let me know down in the comments below if you're going to go for the pack or not. I don't think that really spending money on this final is worth it. The prize car isn't all that. On top of that, Black Friday is around the corner. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, bless them out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like Leslie Brooks. Pin up